Welcome to another 7 Minutes with Matt. I am your host, Matt Rogers. As always, thank you so much for spending the next 7 minutes of your life with me. I have an announcement to make. I am out of the restaurant business. I'm out of business. You guys heard me talk about it a lot. Sushi joint, investor, owner of a restaurant, and I'm out. I sold my shares, and I wanted to tell you the reason why, because it's very, very important, not just from a business standpoint, but from a life standpoint. Because every area of my life, I'm really intentional about making decisions based off of what God tells me to do, based off of God's voice, God's unction, God's leaning. It says, many are the desires of a man's heart, but the Lord will prevail in them all. It says, in all you're getting, get understanding. It's, what's the verse I'm looking for where it says, in all your ways acknowledge him and he will direct your path. How does that start? Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he will direct your path. If you break that verse down, in all your ways, the root word for ways is opportunity. In all your opportunities, acknowledge. That means talk, listen, hear him, and he'll show you where to go. Well, when it came to the restaurant, I got to be honest with you. I prayed about it, and I never really had a peace or a leading about it from God. I knew it was going to do good, and it is good, and it is successful financially. And there were times where I justified, I don't even know how to say it, like, not that God's wrong, or that I would justify it to myself, well, yeah, that's probably not God because this is such a good thing and I could figure it out. And then financially, I'm like, yeah, even if it ends up being a loss, I'm only in my early 40s, I could still recover from this. Like, if I take a shot at this thing and miss, it's not going to ruin my life. So I'm going to do it because the payoff was much more profitable and made sense than the risk of it not working. Does that make sense? So I took a shot, even though I didn't have God's peace on it. So many things in my life, I'd be like, no, God told me to do this. Like, I could tell you, God told us to leave California and move to Tennessee. So the first 2 years where it was really challenging, we never got discouraged because we knew that was God's plan for our life. So for this, when I got out of when I got in the restaurant business, I never had God's peace. I never had God's voice on it, his stamp of approval. And honestly, it wasn't bad. Like any restaurant, there's challenges, there's, build outs and all that. The normal headaches happened. I didn't get discouraged with that. And even with the people, I met so many awesome people, but I never had God's peace about it. And one day, and this was about, a year ago, I'm coming out now, but I've been out for about 9 months. God spoke to me through a prophet that I know and that I've been talking to for the last 10 years of my life. And, I would say the prophet scolded me, if you will, rebuked me, if you will. And I'm not going to get too deep into it, but if you have a real prophet in your life, you can't just listen to the good things he prophesies and then discount the bad things. Oh, well, he was off on that one. He doesn't know. Like, no, I got a real prophet in my life. And when that guy rebuked me for that decision, I listened to him and I got out. And Eli and I were talking before we started this podcast today. It's called the Jimson weed. And the Jimson weed is a plant that produces a beautiful white bloom, and it looks a bit like a morning glory. But from the roots to the leaves, this plant is a no-no. It's also called the devil's snare. The plant's seed, roots, stems, and all the leaves are all dangerous. Not only does it cause heart palpitations, respiratory, and circulatory issues, but the seeds can cause terrifying hallucinations and even death. From the outside, it looks beautiful. It looks like a morning glory. For me, this restaurant looked beautiful. I saw all the success of all the other restaurants who are successful, still successful. Like, I walked away from a success, but from the outside, it looked beautiful. And this is just for me personally. But from the inside, it could have drained my time. It could have drained my energy. Maybe there was a devil's snare behind that I never ended up entering into because God got me out in time. Who knows? I don't know. I just know that after I got in, God told me to get out. And so I finally listened to his voice because I probably should have never got in the first place. So God really helped me on that one. The Bible says, if you walk by the Spirit, you will not fulfill the lusts of the flesh. That doesn't just mean you're not going to go, cheat on your wife, or you're not going to go have sex outside of your marriage, even though it means that too. But for me, the lust of the flesh on this one was I saw green, I saw money signs, I saw opportunity. I was opportunity-led and I wasn't spirit-led. And if you're spirit-led, the opportunity and the payoff will always bless you. But a lot of times if you're opportunity-led or you're business-led, the spiritual blessing won't be there. It'll look like a Jameson weed. Am I saying that right? Jimson weed. It'll look like a Jimson weed. I think about Genesis 3:6. When the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was desirable to make one wise, she took from its fruit and she ate it. When the devil comes at you, he makes it look good. The devil doesn't come at you with red horns and red face and sharp teeth. No. He comes at you and says, this is good. Take a bite. This opportunity is right. Take a bite. And it looks good from the outside. It looks like that Jimson weed, that morning glory, but the roots can take you down. You never know what's behind it, which is so important to live by the Spirit and the voice of God. If you're in an area in your life right now where you're not sure what the right decision is, take time to ask God. Well, how do you know it's God? Because God you'll always have peace. I'm not saying you won't have obstacles. I'm not saying you won't have adversity. I'm not saying you won't have challenges. You probably will, but you'll have peace. That's the game changer. He says his yoke is easy, his burden is light. He'll give you peace. So I want to leave you with this question. What are the things in your life that look and feel good and maybe even appear to add value on the outside, but in the end, and at the end of the day, they are distracting you from what God truly has for you? Think about that. Think about that this week as you're listening to this and as you're going through. What are those things that look good from the outside, but they might bring you down? Whatever those things you're thinking about right now, those red flags that are going up, consider God's voice and follow the voice of peace. God's voice will always bring you peace. Even if you don't feel 100% confident in that situation, you'll have peace. I didn't have peace, and I should have listened, and I'm glad he got me out when he did. I hope this I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this inspired you, and I hope you'll take into consideration what we said today. Thank you so much for joining me on another 7 Minutes with Matt.